You're watching Newsday TV. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ken Bufa. An Elwood man is dead after being shot by a cop who was responding to 911 calls. Officers rushed to the house on Mander Lane, saw it in disarray, and then went inside.
Our subject was wearing a red shirt. He had a fencing mask on, and he also had two fencing swords in both of his hands. The officers demanded that he put the swords down. Our subject refused to do as such, and at which time our officers fired the taser, striking our subject.
Cops say the taser did not stop 54-year-old Alan Weber. After that, the police commissioner says Weber charged the officers, and that's when one of them opened fire. A neighbor told reporters Weber came to their door earlier in the day with no shoes on.
About an hour later, my husband walks to the front door and sees a crucifix on our door, or rosary beads, which was a little unsettling. There was a drop of blood as well with it.
Now, police say they have body cam footage of the incident, and the investigation is ongoing. Congressman George Santos is denying the newest round of federal charges against him. Sherry Einhorn has more on what local lawmakers and the Long Islanders have to say about it.
Embattled Republican Congressman George Santos, who was already indicted on a slew of federal criminal charges, is facing 10 new charges, including wire fraud and identity theft. Still, the congressman representing Nassau and Queens insists he's not guilty, isn't quitting, and will run again. Santos told reporters, quote, "I'm pretty much denying every last bit of charges." Some voters in his district are clearly disgusted.
It's ridiculous. He shouldn't be in Congress, but the Republicans won't throw him out because they have a thin enough majority as it is.
Also happening, the introduction of a resolution calling for Santos to be expelled from Congress. That resolution being introduced by a handful of freshman congressmen from New York.
Congressman Anthony D'Esposito posted on social media calling Santos a, quote, fraudster.
We really felt that enough is enough. He's been a stain to this institution, a stain to the state of New York, and certainly for me, he's been a stain to Nassau County. And it's clear he's unfit to serve in the House of Representatives, and he's unfit to serve the people of the 3rd Congressional District.
Santos will be in court on the new charges at the end of the month. In the meantime, members of the group Concerned Citizens of New York 3 say they've been without meaningful representation for 10 months.
We have been without anyone who's making policy for us, looking out for us, doing constituent services, and that has done real harm, and it's also corrosive to democracy, and it breeds cynicism.
As for the possibility of Santos running for re-election, Joseph Cairo says Santos won't get any help from the Nassau GOP.
Absolutely not, because he hasn't earned it, nor does he deserve it. The public elected someone who he created. They didn't elect the George Santos that we now know.
I'm Sherry Einhorn for Newsday TV.
Republicans have nominated Steve Scalise to be the next House Speaker. The decision now has to go to the floor vote. Scalise is a lawmaker from Louisiana who survived a mass shooting at a practice for a congressional baseball game back in 2017. This nomination comes after the historic ousting of Kevin McCarthy. And Israel increased its airstrikes on the Gaza Strip overnight. This is in response to the attack by Hamas. So far, more than 2,300 people have been killed on both sides. This includes 22 U.S. citizens. The White House says the U.S. is working to allow civilians to safely leave Gaza. Now, to read more about the fighting in Israel and the impact it's having on Long Islanders, go to Newsday.com, click Get More below the Newsday TV video box. And New York wants to prevent kids from getting addicted to social media. Governor Kathy Hochul unveiled new bills to limit scroll time. Hochul hopes this will help teens improve their mental health.
They target our insecurities, and for these girls, it lifted them into depression and question their own self-worth. And teenagers are vulnerable enough as it is.
Now, if approved, the new legislation would ban platforms from sending notifications to minors between midnight and 6 a.m. It would also allow parents and kids to opt out of feeds that use algorithms to target young users. And a basketball legend was honored today in Nassau County. Dr. J. Julius Erving cut the ribbon on a new dream court at Eisenhower Park. The Hall of Famer who grew up in Nassau spoke to kids at the ceremony, and then there was a clinic for the budding hoop stars.
There's camaraderie here, there's faith, there's fellowship here, and then there's a place to get some physical exercise by getting on the basketball court and playing. So there are a lot of pluses.
Nassau County teamed up with Nancy Lieberman Charities to build the new court. Lieberman is also a Basketball Hall of Famer. All right, let's take a look at your Long Island weather, and I have good news for you. It's going to be gorgeous tomorrow, just like it was today. Let's take a closer look at tomorrow. Let's see where the temps are at around the mid-60s. And again, like I promised, mostly sunny skies to partly cloudy skies, but just another really nice fall day.
Long Island weather is brought to you by Home Tax Saver, PTRC Incorporated.
The race to become the next Suffolk County executive is on, and both candidates came to Newsday Studios for a debate. Jasmine Anderson and Joy Brown break down everything you need to know about these candidates.
The Suffolk County executive debate is over, and now it's left up to you to make a decision. We're here to talk more about the takeaways with Joy Brown. We have some disagreements and some agreements to talk about.
Well, let's talk about the biggest disagreement of all, which is qualifications. You got Ed Romaine, Brookhaven Town Supervisor, former county legislator. He says, I've got 40 years making policy. I'm your guy. You got David Colon. He says, oh, whoa. I've been a prosecutor. I am a businessman. I've got experience that I can come in. Two different fellows, two different points of view here, but they all say that they're equally qualified to make policy for the 1.6 million people in Suffolk.
They're very confident in their stance. Let's talk about some of the agreements that they had. The migrant crisis.
The migrant crisis, neither one wants Suffolk County to bear the brunt of having a bunch of migrants coming in. They think that the county has other issues that they need to be dealing with and issues of concern to Suffolk County residents.
There were some fiery moments also that we noticed and witnessed at the podium.
There were some fiery moments, passionate moments, angry moments, and at least one reference, as you said, literally to fire.
At the end of the day, this is a very important race for Long Islanders.
This race is important because at this level, they make the decisions that impact our day-to-day life here in Suffolk County. The local officials do that, and nobody does this bringing them to Long Island audience like Newsday does. I mean, you may have seen signs, you may have read things, but here you actually get to see them. You can watch them get angry, you can watch them get passionate, you can watch them get fiery, and more important, you can listen to them and where they agree and where they disagree.
Yeah, so you can make a sound decision.
It helps in any decision that you're going to make.
Thank you, Joy.
And it was a good one. Now, to watch the entire debate, go to Newsday.com, click Get More, the Newsday TV video box. Rising temperatures, extreme rainfall, and smoky skies. Experts say we are seeing the effects of climate change here on the island. Tiwa Chang has part one of our special series that you'll only see in Newsday.
From devastating storms like Sandy that battered Long Island's coastline and destroyed countless homes, to massive wildfires in Canada that filled our skies and lungs with smoke, and the hottest summer on record in the Northern Hemisphere, the UN Secretary General describes the situation this way.
The climate time bomb is ticking.
Many experts believe the weather extremes can all be linked to climate change, brought on by burning fossil fuels and pumping greenhouse gases into the atmosphere.
We're adding CO2 a million times faster than it ever was exchanged in and out of the atmosphere.
A million times?
A million times faster. So, because it took millions of years for those dinosaurs to turn into fossil fuels. And now we're digging them up and burning them. And it takes millions of years for it to get back into the rocks. Well, the time frames are clearly, climate's changing on decades, not millions of years.
Professor Scott Mandia says the two main sources heating the Earth, its proximity to the sun and the release of the planet's core heat, should both be in a cooling phase.
If humans were not on the planet, we would be seeing ice grow every century after century after century for the next 8,000 years.
The UN's Panel on Climate Change reports since the 19th century, the Earth's global temperature has risen by 1.1 degrees Celsius. If it rises more than 1.5 degrees, scientists believe the Earth will face significantly more catastrophic disasters. If it goes to 2 degrees Celsius, it may be unlivable for humans.
There's always been heavy rainfall events and summer heat waves. That's a normal part of life on Long Island. But as the world warms, decade by decade, we're seeing that our summer temperature extremes are getting hotter and more dangerous. Heavy rainfall that causes flooding is getting more frequent. Hurricanes are intensifying faster and they're more powerful.
Ice caps in the Arctic and Antarctic are melting faster than scientists predicted. And that's raising the sea level, which presents a huge problem for us on Long Island, which is surrounded by water. Tiwa Chang for NewsdayTV.
Incredible stuff. Now you can watch part 2 of our special series tomorrow. And you can read more about climate change on Long Island. Just go to newsday.com, click Get More below the Newsday TV video box.
My goal is to entertain, but also to let you into places where the fans can't go. I want to take the readers inside the locker room, inside the heads of the athletes.
Newsday, covering Long Island like no one else can.
You're watching Newsday TV. I'm Ken Buffa. Thank you so much for joining us. We leave you now with a look at your 7-day forecast.